All right, guys, so by now you've probably seen my initial reactions video to the Madden 21 and Madden 22 franchise updates, but in this video, I'm going to point out the biggest positive from all of this news that not everyone is talking about. But before we dive into it, man, let me go ahead and remind you guys to subscribe to the channel, cut on your notifications, and hit that like button. Now, here's the thing, guys. I'm gonna give you the biggest positive coming out of this news. But before I do that, let me just read this paragraph really quickly. This first paragraph, because there's a word in there as well that we need to keep an eye on. But it basically says, for Madden NFL 22, it is still very early. We are at the very beginning of the planning and pre-production of next year's product. That said, we've been actively discussing some areas we'd like to focus on, stemming from your feedback and player engagement. Here are a few of the areas. While not fully committed yet, we are exploring creatively. Okay, so I want you to pay attention to fully committed yet. Not fully committed yet. That's a key phrase. Even though I'm pointing out a positive, that is a key phrase to pay attention to. So as you can see, guys, what they're talking about is coaching and staff management, scouting improvements, new scenario engine enhancements, new team chemistry system, and commissioner tools and improvements. Now, in my last video, you heard me, not really that excited about the new scenario engine enhancements, because again, I feel like that should have been a natural progression from Madden 20. That should be in Madden 21, hands down. Even before the whole Fix Madden franchise movement, this should have been a natural progression because you introduced it in Madden 20, right? And then when you talk about commissioner tool improvements, I feel a little bit better about it as I kind of break it down, seeing that they're introducing it, in Madden 21 to some degree, but I still feel the same way I did in the last video. This stuff should have been in the game. I mean, come on. Commissioner tools should have been something that should have been more robust, period. Now, coaching and staff management, scouting improvements, and new team chemistry system. These have the potential to be great features. And the reason why I say potential is, number one, we don't know the level of detail. If they're able to fully blow that out, with the depth that is necessary, then these would be very, very much so appreciated features. However, I will, of course, point this out. I will continue to say this. Yes, these are recycled features. These are features that were, had more depth to them back in the day in old Maddens, and they're now just returning if they do return. I do acknowledge that, but at the same time, we got to keep it real. In the current state that the game is in, yes, there are a lot of recycled features I want to see back in the game, so I'm not going to be upset about that. Yes, we'll point it out and acknowledge it. Well, y'all already did that years ago. Of course, we're going to, nudge you and say, hey, this ain't like it's something brand new. But at the same time, we want these recycled features. So, yeah, I'm happy to see things like that will be possibly returning. Now, here's the positive. This is what I wanted to, basically talk about. The biggest positive out of all of this news is the fact that we have it in writing. I can't remember a time before where we had this level of commitment or this level of them sticking their neck out there and putting their neck on the line in writing. This is more than just an interview. Think about it. In an interview, you might hear devs say what they want to do. You've heard it in my interviews that I've had with either Clint or Rex, and you've heard it in interviews with others, and you've heard Mike Young, what he said about his commitment to franchise and this, that, and the third, and we clearly see that wasn't, classic franchise as they call it, right? But right now, this is in writing. So you give the community more leverage to where we can hold EA accountable. And this is coming directly from the top, because you better believe we're not getting this type of communication if it wasn't cleared. You understand what I'm saying? This is not just a dev putting this out. This is not just a community manager putting this out. No. You better believe this has been cleared to be put out, by marketing and PR and probably even some legal ramifications some kind of way before all of this is able to be put in writing. And what protects them is, of course, that not fully committed yet. That does give them a little bit of protection. However, it still gives the community the leverage to say, well, some of these things at least should make that list. Because could you imagine if they don't do any of this stuff that they're stating in Madden 22? Can you imagine the outrage? The whole fixed Madden franchise. Can you imagine how much worse that would be next year in terms of having it trending when we had this year where it trended? So could you imagine them not doing any of this come Madden 22? They don't want that smoke. But like I said, to me, you got to look at the positive. This is the only time that I can remember having this level of quote unquote commitment. This is crazy. I've never seen them do anything like this. Trust. Since I've been, involved with EA in terms of the level of involvement I have, I ain't never seen this before. So yes, like I said in my previous video, I still mean every word of that. I still feel like some of these things should have been done. I still feel like some of these things isn't enough. Absolutely. But the positive that I could take from this is now I have a document basically here where you're committing to these specific areas. And we've been asking for this type of stuff for years. Many people that know me know I've been saying that over the years. Like, man, I wish we could know, tell us kind of where you're going. Even on the inside, even in the game changer program, most people know I've consistently said that to community managers, like, yo, we need to have some type of, future telling where you can say this is what we're looking to focus on so we can give you feedback on that. Instead of finding out once the production is already underway and then trying to give you feedback on what you already did, I've always said you should give us some type of roadmap. That only helps you give the best level of feedback. So like I said, man, some people will take this for what it is, but like I said, it's a positive for the Sim franchise community. And the only reason why I say Sim is because most of the time, guys like myself that coin themselves as Sim players, we play franchise and we want a hardcore franchise and we want a fully blown franchise that replicates the NFL. So for our community, this to me is a small victory. Very small, but it's a small victory because now we have it in writing. So you are giving us that leverage to hold you accountable. The big dogs at EA. Again, not the development team. The executive team. You're giving us a piece of documentation that we can use to hold you accountable. So that, my friends, in my eyes, is definitely a positive. And of course, everything is still TBD. They have to follow through. But again, this allows us to hold them more accountable because you came out and said this in writing, not just some off-the-cuff interview. So those are just my thoughts, man. And of course, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel, cut on your notifications, hit that like button, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.